as we do value your input. This time, I want to thank our sponsor, Cisco, for providing the webinar platform to enable us to share our discussion with you today. Thank you, Cisco. At this time, I would like to turn the program over to Kim Green, Executive Director. Kim?
Great, Ramona, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Our staff and organization's leadership are really very excited to have you join us for this momentous occasion, unveiling of our new vision paper. As you know, to get to a day like today, many people contributed along the way. So before we unveil that paper, if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I'd like to share a few thank yous. Much gratitude has been shared privately along the way. I think it's really important that we say thank you publicly to all those who contributed. First, I have to thank my staff. Now, if you know our organization, you know that we run a very lean operation, and commitment and passion to CTE drives and motivates our team. Every single member of our team has worked hard to get us here today. The team challenged each other on own assumptions, pushing one another to be creative and bold, and to really make the most out of this very unique and special moment in time for CTE. A very special thank you must go to Erin Oy, our Communications and Marketing Manager, because she led this initiative and has been tireless in her commitment to making this vision paper a reality. I think that when you learn more about it and our future plans, you will agree she's done a fantastic job. So Erin and to the rest of the team, I'm really very proud of you and your commitment and dedication to CTE. I'm honored to work with a great officer team and board of directors, as you'll hear from some of them today. But I thank them for having the courage and exercising the leadership to be willing to commit to doing something bold to move our community forward. And finally, thank you to many of you on the webinar with us today, to our members and partners who have been with us on this journey, for taking the risk and for being willing to talk about the difficult issues, for being honest in these discussions, and for being willing to work together to find new solutions. Today's webinar will share the results of this journey we've been on, and in many ways is the first step in a new journey in implementing a progressive agenda for the future of CTE. The vision paper will guide our organization's policy priorities and investments, and we hope will ultimately ensure that the United States remains a global leader and Americans are equipped with the knowledge and skills to thrive in the labor market. Join listeners on today's webinar are members, state directors at the secondary and post-secondary level, associate members, other partners, and press, who we hope will all become our partners as we move forward in putting this new vision into action. Joining today's webinar are our officer team and a close partner, Jen Bray from the Association for Career and Technical Education. She's the executive director there. Our officer team includes June Sanford, who's the president, from the state of Connecticut, Pat Ainsworth, who is our secretary-treasurer from the state of California, and Phil Birkenbeil, our vice president and from the state of Oklahoma. So before I head over to our officer team, I'd like to take just a few minutes to set the stage for our webinar. The tune that you have in front of you, we think in many ways illustrates what brought us to the point of wanting a new vision paper. CTE has a long history of responding to the changing needs of the economy. In fact, we think this is a hallmark of our system. If you look back to the turn of the last century and the beginning of the federal investment in CTE, the Smith Act, we helped prepare our country's workers to make the transition from an agrarian to an industrial economy. And through the 20th century, CTE played a pivotal role in helping prepare our workforce so we could defend our country during times of war. And in times of prosperity, CTE helped lead the way with things like a focus on gender equity and innovations like linking learner levels, promoting integrated instruction, implementing accountability measures. Once again reached a pivotal crossroad, the transition to a knowledge-based economy. Once again, CTE must respond and lead. While we only can and should build upon our past, we must look ahead and transform and innovate. And that's what this paper will do. It will be a guide to achieve this new vision. I'll turn the webinar over to our president, June Sanford, who will kick things off.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, where that applies. My name is June Sanford, and I am the State Director for Career Technical Education in Connecticut. And I have the pleasure and the honor honor of serving as the president of the National Association of State Directors of Career Technical Education Consortium this year. Before I start, I need to thank Kim and her staff for a phenomenal job, and fellow board members, and all of you and all of our partners. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you today for joining us on this webinar. We are so excited to have you join us for this momentous occasion, the unveiling of our organization's new vision for the future of CTE. So let's get started. Before we share the new vision, it is important to spend a few minutes on how we got here. In the late 1990s, vocational technical education underwent a name change to become Career Technical Education. We've come a long way, baby. For some, this represented a simple name change, but for our association, it was much more than that. It was an opportunity to redefine what we stood for, how we wanted to define CTE. We understood the importance of a unified voice, and we understood the importance of being clear of what we were and what we were not. So in December 1997, our membership embarked upon an ambitious journey to establish a unified vision statement that both defined what CTE was and what CTE should be. Authored by Dr. Mike Rush, the then State Director of Idaho, CTE, an essential component of the total educational system, was unveiled in 2000, and for the last decade, that paper guided our work. The 2000 vision paper highlighted the critical contributions that CTE could make to the broader educational community in the hope of securing CTE a seat at the table of the beginning high school reform efforts. It's hard to believe that just a decade ago, words like rigor, standards, and accountability were new to our lexicon. And for us, this new vision launched our work to lead the development and implementation of career clusters. So, here we are, almost a decade later, much changed since we drafted that vision statement. The flattening globe, the opportunities brought by technology, the dramatic shifts in our economy have created, to say nothing of the changes in educational policy, a confluence of circumstances that made it absolute necessity to reconvene our state leaders to once again reflect on our past and chart a bold, progressive agenda to move CTE forward. You might ask, why now? The board realized that CTE was at a critical juncture. Perkins 4 brought about the opportunity to make bold changes to the way CTE was delivered, and many policy organizations have been watching to see if CTE took on those challenges. Well, we did. And years immediately following the passage of Perkins 4, a range of organizations, including the National Governors Association, National Association of State Boards of Education, and the Institute for a Competitive Workforce, and many others, expressed interest in, support, and hope for a reimagined, rigorous CTE. The stage was set. A educational and economic landscape, increased visibility and interest in CTE, and the strong desire by our state leaders to come together to chart a new vision for the future of CTE. We knew a new vision needed to be influenced and informed by stakeholder partners such as representatives from the CTE family, including ACTE and the career technical student organizations, as well as leaders across all sectors of education communities, government officials, and business and industry. Stated environment to have this frank conversation, hosted a summit in the fall of 2009. Our goal was to challenge our current thinking and beliefs with the goal of reaffirming and recommitting to what we believed was working and to chart an aggressive, unified agenda for CTE. Today, we unveil a new vision to CTE forward and ensuring its success in meeting the current and future educational and workforce needs in the United States. Our vision which the board unanimously approved, is intended to define our principles and beliefs and chart a bold agenda for the future. The vision is structured around 5 primary interconnected principles. Principles define a broad statement of belief and are followed by specific action steps we will endeavor to achieve. To be clear, this vision paper is not just another paper that will sit on a shelf or create buzz for a day or a month. Paper is a shared vision among all state directors of CTE. This is a living blueprint for action. Okay, so are you ready to hear more? Joining on today's webinar are 2 of our leadership team, my officers of the association, Dr. Phil Birkenvale, State Director of Oklahoma, and Dr. Pat Ainsworth, State Director of California, and our Secretary Treasurer. Together, we will walk you through the vision paper titled Reflect, Transform, and Lead, a new vision for career technical education. I will now turn the webinar over to Pat to introduce the first 2 principles. Pat?
Well, thank you, June. It's great to be on. It is indeed a pleasure to join you in sharing this new vision that has truly been developed by our membership and as a result of some very tough discussions. But those tough discussions have helped us arrive at a vision statement that we believe we can all stand behind and put our support for, because this vision charts a plan that will ensure that the nation are able to remain competitive in our hyper-competitive global economy. And the first principle, CTE is a goal to ensuring that the United States leads in global competitiveness. Global competition is shaping the way nations are preparing their workforce. We believe CTE can meet current demands and anticipate the future demands of the dynamic economy by being flexible and quick to respond to employer needs. Programs must be rigorous, blend academic and technical content, and be internationally benchmarked. This is collaborative connections among education, economic development, and workforce development to ensure alignment of these policies and program delivery. Our goal is that students of all ages, youth and adults, who enroll in CTE programs are equipped to global citizens with an entrepreneurial spirit and boundless in their ideas and endeavors to stimulate positive economic change. Goal, we endeavor to carry out our activities on your screen. Knowledge, a national common core of technical standards built upon national career cluster knowledge and skill statements that are benchmarked internationally and supported by leaders from business, labor, education, and government. Create federal policy that secures CTE leadership role in alignment among education, economic development, and workforce development, and increases the U.S. investment in CTE. And third, marketing and communications campaign to showcase CTE's critical role in transforming the way education is delivered to all students and underscore the positive economic impact it provides for individuals and our nation. These are designed to ensure rigor and quality in CTE, development of a national common core of technical standards. There is no need for states to each have separate sets of technical standards. The difference among states matter not in a global economy. We must raise the bar higher and ensure that our students are meeting the highest levels of achievement. Further, we must erase the stereotypes many have about CTE and some kinds of occupations. Our principle highlights the unique critical relationship CTE has with the employer community. And that second principle is he actively partners with employers to design and provide high-quality dynamic programs. Among its partners are employers, including representatives from business and industry and labor unions. It's only fitting that employers play a significant role in designing and improving the program in which their future employees will be trained. And future employers' needs requires a marked change in the way we do business. To accomplish this goal, we endeavor to carry out the activities on your screen. First, partner with business and industry organizations to develop and implement rigorous, internationally benchmarked CTE programs of study that are aligned to state and national and international economic demands and industry standards. Partner with business and industry organizations to ensure that the credentials earned by students enrolled in CTE programs are valued by the labor market and are at a minimum nationally portable. And close skill gaps, providing learners of all ages with access to education and training necessary to be highly competitive in the labor market, including ongoing skill development of the existing workforce. We no longer decide on what program will be offered based upon the makeup of our current teaching force or student interest alone. In our vision, all of CTE at both the secondary and post-secondary levels align its programmatic offerings to current, emerging, and projected labor needs. This partnership with employers is absolutely essential to our success. As the pace of change and the rate of innovation increases, employers are essential to provide CTE programmatic content and technology to stay current. Employers must collaborate with employers to craft CTE standards and curricula. And employers are key partners in offering students work-based learning opportunities for teachers and faculty to stay up to date in the industries in which they teach. I have the pleasure of turning the webinar over to my distinguished colleague from Oklahoma, our association's Vice President, Dr. Phil Birkenbeil. Phil? Phil, muted.
Oh, Phil, you need to mute yourself, please. Press star 6. Star 6. And will be with us momentarily.
Can you hear me?
When? Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Here, take it over, Phil.
Okay. Thank you, Pat. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties here in Oklahoma, but it's a nice day, and I'm dreaming about being out in the sunshine for one day this week. I join my colleagues in saying just how proud I am to be a part of today's webinar. It's mind-boggling how far we've come, and to be as an officer of our association at this important time. We in Oklahoma stand behind this important new vision, and we really believe in its goals. We have students dropping out at of alarming rates, and we have poor college completion rates. In Oklahoma, we believe we can and must do a better job of helping move and make our students successful. Our goal is a new vision address this issue. We believe that CTE prepares students to succeed in further education and careers. Relevant, it's essential to keeping more kids in school and helping them find their passion. While college and career ready is a buzzphrase in the education policy world, the world's a range of meanings of stakeholders. We believe that the false dichotomy for work or college is no longer relevant. The global places a premium on skills acquisition and innovation. For all workers must be lifelong learners who need to cultivate and to gain knowledge and skills through further education, which industry credential, apprenticeships, or degrees and credentials. We're to carry out the activities on your screen. We need policies that require all students to have a personalized learning plan. We need a position of career-ready standards for all students, not just some students. to have CTE be a performance-based, student-centered, delivered without regard to time or place. As you see on the screen, we believe that personalized learning plans are essential to help students chart their own paths to success. The stereotype that CTE closes doors ends here. CTE programs students with adaptable skills and knowledge, thereby ensuring flexibility for students to transition careers as interests change. And there seems like opportunities emerge and the economy transforms. The national delivery systems should be flexible with how CTE is delivered to students' needs. We believe that valid and reliable technical skills assessments that hold in nationally recognized and portable credentials for students are necessary to strengthen the value of our programs in the workplace. We have programs that can achieve these goals. Print number 4 states that CTE is delivered through competency programs of study aligned to the National Career Clusters framework. To endeavor to carry out the activities on your screen. We assist states with design and implementation of programs and studies as a standards approach to delivering CTE. We must support federal legislation that encourages rigorous competency programs of study as a delivery model for education. To do a variety of things. We must train and lead educators, employers, labor, and government to develop policy, resources, and technical assistance to states with the design and implementation of programs of study. Incentives for employers to provide work-based experiences and development and faculty so they are aware of to incorporate the latest industry standards. Enrollment and technical certification. We must support federal legislation introduced in Perkins 4 create a starting point for building modern CTE programs. However, an expanded 10-component framework developed in partnership with the Office of Vocational and Adult Education at the Department of Education expands upon the requirements and defines what high-quality comprehensive program of study should include. We support this expanded definition, which requires that the standards, curriculum, and assessments are aligned, thereby ensuring coordination and seamless delivery of instruction and transition for students. Students are given opportunities to explore a myriad of career possibilities and access to comprehensive career planning that empowers them to plan and prepare for a lifetime of career and educational choices. Relevant work-based learning opportunities and leadership development through Career Technical Student Organization, or CSOs, are incorporated into the program of study. It's the standard for CTE. Many states and districts have made efforts to implement programs of study, adopted the Career Cluster framework. More needs to be done to transition CTE programs into programs of study aligned to the National Career Clusters framework. We must achieve a semblance of programs among states, which will give mobility of the workforce, especially of our students. Using career clusters as a framework helps us improve coordination and alignment among education, economic development, and workforce development objectives. And efforts are essential to ensuring our students in the United States receive the best education to lead, innovate, and compete in the economy of today. Let me back over to our president to share the last principle.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to our own Dr. Phil. The last principle underlines and reinforces all the others. It's about accountability. The principle, that is. CTE is a results-driven system that demonstrates a positive return on investment. Well, this principle is near and dear to me because I believe that we cannot accomplish the rest of our vision unless we have access to and use data to drive our decisions. We can be a system that operates on emotion or our gut instinct. They must make CTE accountable for providing programs that are valuable for individuals who are seeking the best education and training that will prepare them for careers of today and tomorrow. To accomplish this goal, we endeavor to carry out the activities on your screen. First of all, use data to identify higher quality, successful, scalable CTE practices and programs. Target efforts and funds to those found effective and eliminate those that are ineffective. Support federal policies, the collection of nationally comparable, valid, and reliable data possible and efficient. Encourage longitudinal data systems to incorporate the data components necessary to support CTE accountability measures. Alignment of data requirements and accountability measures among federal education and workforce preparation programs. And lastly, develop a national return on investment model to demonstrate CTE's positive fiscal, societal, and economic impact. So, we, the state leaders governing CTE, embrace the critical importance of accountability and data-driven decisions. We understand the necessity to demonstrate a return on investment in CTE programs, and we believe CTE's performance must be measured by appropriate indicators that accurately reflect programmatic outcomes in the intent of those programs. Further, we, the state directors, commit to using data to drive decisions on resources and programs to ensure programs are aligned to the economy's needs and resources are directed towards areas of highest need. So, there our bold progressive vision for the future of CTE. While the association is spearheading this effort, it is clear we need the support of the entire CTE community and all education stakeholders to realize this vision. And our key partners is with us today to share some perspectives on this new vision. Gray, Executive Director of the Association for Career and Technical Education, joins us. Dan was with us at the summit in the fall and participated in those difficult conversations we have to arrive at this vision. Dan, as an important partner whose organization represents the CTE family, including researchers, practitioners in the classroom, state and local level leaders, look forward to your thoughts and comments on this vision, and ACTE may be a partner in this process. Jen?
June, I appreciate it, and I thank state directors for inviting me and ACTE to participate in this webinar. First of all, I want to congratulate the organization on being bold and having the courage to take a step forward and to craft a new vision for career and technical education. I also want to thank you for allowing me to participate in some of these discussions. I know how difficult the discussions were. I know we go through these same discussions at ACTE. Change is not easy. And the challenge is always when we talk about change, it's like someone's telling us what we're doing is not right. And that's not it. What the issue is, what worked in the past isn't going to work in the future. What got us here today is not going to get us where we need to be. So I applaud the state directors for this vision. And I was thinking about this webinar and what I was going to put on a PowerPoint and how to move forward. It seems like a lot of what we've been talking about ACTE deals and dovetails directly with the vision that the state directors have come out with. I mean, we need to break down the silos. It is not about CTE at the secondary level or the post-secondary level or workforce development or the various disciplines. discipline areas is really about preparing individuals to be successful in the workplace and thereby contribute to the growth of the economy of this country and the success of this country. So we need to step out of those silos, and the vision that the state directors have put out are what helping the practitioner begin to look beyond the barriers and the walls that we've set up. It's also finding that new language, the idea of programs of study, return on investment. Those things, it's about a mindset that we need to have as to what our purpose and what we're being there for. You know, we talk about, the dialogue around change is already happening in this country. We know it, we hear it every day now, especially from the Department of Education, that the Department of Education wants to be an engine of change. Well, certainly career and technical education needs to be a driver of that change, and it should be a leader of that change, because education has to lead to something. It's not just theoretical. So the vision that you have laid out certainly is a way of clarifying and bringing some structure to how career and technical education can play that leadership role, because it's going to happen with or without us. And we need to really, as already has been stated as part of your principles, career and technical education needs to align its decisions. They need to make decisions on what programs they're offering and the content that they're offering that is aligned with the market needs of the market and the workplace. Otherwise, we are not fulfilling the objectives and the vision that was set when, even with the Smith-Hughes Act. It has always been about alignment with the workplace. And so actually the change should be rather easy if we think about it that way, because the workplace itself has changed. And it's got to be using data, because that's what's being used in all of the dialogue across this nation now in education and workforce, is the use of data. Stories are great, we need them, but we need to be able to stand up and use data to demonstrate the value of career and technical education. And it's not just about the technical skills. It is about those employability skills, those soft skills, 21st skills, however you want to talk about it. We're moving, Kim talked about a knowledge economy. We're actually moving into an innovation and creativity economy. And where students are going to get that is through career and technical education. We embrace all of that, but the way that people will understand that is through the data that we can provide. The National Association of State Directors of CTE and ACT have had a long cooperative partnership. We work side by side on our advocacy efforts, on messages that we take to the administration. We work very hard to align our messages that go out to both the workplace as well as the education community. And this vision is just going to enhance and build upon that partnership. As I said at the beginning, it aligns very clearly with the direction that ACTE is going. It allows us to talk about career and technical education within the broader context of education in the workplace. ACT has been doing some of that with the issue briefs that we've identified, the podcasts that we've put out, the state profiles that are on the website, the National Leadership Forum that we hosted with the education community last June and plan to do again this June. It's the new CT Foundation we have, which is outreach to business and industry. So the two organizations together will be able to really advance the vision that you've outlined. And you've outlined a vision that includes a lot of flexibility for how we're going to reach it, because we know times change. So I do, once again, congratulate you on that. And, we know that change is difficult. Strategies are not easy, but they're all doable, and they're all things that we have to do. And so we are very pleased, ACTE, to be a partner with the National Association of State Directors of CTE. Someday you'll get a shorter name, but we really do look forward to working with you on that and in a way so that the resources of both organizations can be effectively utilized to achieve the vision without duplication and and we'll just be stronger and more effective by doing that. So, Jude, thank you, and thank you for letting me be a part of this, and ACT looks forward to working with you.
Well, thank you, Jan. And yes, we do need a shorter name. I agree. For your leadership and partnership, we look forward to working with you to implement this vision. So it's almost time to wrap up, but I have a few brief closing remarks. Our nation is at a critical juncture as the competition in the global economy intensifies. And to echo Jan Bray, we strongly believe our nation's economic vitality hinges on our commitment to invest in and ensure the preparedness, efficiency, creativity, and productivity of the U.S. workforce. CTE has also reached a critical juncture. CTE is to successfully prepare the U.S. workforce. We must set high standards for ourselves, and we must be accountable. We must identify the model programs that should be scaled up and eliminate those that do not prepare students to high internationally benchmark standards. And look to the future. We envision an education and workforce system that equally supports different learning styles, equally values different interests and talents, adapts and responds to technology and workplace needs. This is our vision for the future of CTE. Bold leadership and actions will be necessary to realize this vision. We need your engagement and involvement. Our step is to develop concrete plans on how we, as a national organization and as leaders in our states, will put action steps in motion. For those of you who will be with us at the spring meeting later this month, be ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work. We are dedicating a significant block of time to pushing forward with the new vision. This is more than a call to action. This is an impetus for change. And turn it over to Kim for questions.
Great, thanks everybody. We have several questions coming in, and some of you are using the chat feature and some of you are using the question and answer feature. So if you wouldn't mind just making sure that you submit your questions to me in the chat feature, I'll do my best to get through all of them. The first question that we received is a question about whether CTE can really implement this vision and agenda alone. Can we from the CTE community kind of put alone, or what other partners do we need to have at the table to realize this vision? So I'll open it up to any of the folks on the webinar to answer that.
This is Jane, and let me just start with an answer is no, I don't think CTE can do it alone because we need the business and community. We also need our academic counterparts. As Joe and others know, ACT has been working with the CEOs of the associations representing the academic content field and those teachers, and have come out with the principles for learning, so that we create partnerships with other education organizations to move this agenda forward so that they're carrying the message as well and helping to break down a lot of those silos. So I think it's going to take a lot of partners, but it's going to take the leadership of the key CTE organizations in order to take those partnerships and move it forward.
Great.
Yes, Jen, I agree with you 100%, and I think we can't be afraid to sit down at the table and invite those partners to sit down with us and have input and listen to their input, and ready to take ideas or their criticisms and work with them to implement this. Not just working with the GMs and the Boeings, it's working with the small business people across the United States that's going to make this work. We have to provide the apprenticeships, the mentorships. We have to listen and get their input, how we move forward and make sure that we provide a relevance and rigor that through those relationships we can cultivate from now on.
And I just wanted to comment that I agree with all the remarks. But I think what's important now that we do have a seat at the table, and I think we have their attention, all of those other partners that we need to make this happen. And that's what I personally am so grateful for, is that we, at the first time in my career, that I can feel as though that we do have a seat at the table. The time is ripe.
We have a question and a number of questions coming in about the kind of concept of college and career readiness. In the paper, we are suggesting that all students are both college and career ready. And a couple of different questions, kind of melding them into one. One says, this is like a departure of what CTE really was intended to be for, that college and career ready was not originally the mission for CTE. So it's a departure, and if so, maybe talk a little bit about why we get to the point of saying both college and career ready, and what that might look like when we implement it. Pat, I don't know if you want to take a stab at this one. I know in California you've been leading a great deal of work with your work around linked learning and multiple pathways, which is clearly has a goal of both college and career readiness. You want to take a stab at it?
I tried to get off mute, and it wouldn't work for a minute, so I was trying to drop in.
Great.
I think we have a history in this country, and we all realize it, of a separation between academic learning, a separation between head and hand, knowing and doing, abstract and applied. Those divisions were artificial, and they're very artificial in the modern world. The world requires that all students have a strong academic base and have the skills necessary to succeed in our economy. Not an either-or proposition. We're getting ready to release a big report in a couple of weeks that's going to directly state this. So for the future of our high schools, it can no longer be a separation. So think the notion of the new ESCA and the terminology about career ready is a reflection on that. Now, saying that, I think college means the full array of post-secondary options for students. There's a need to get our kids to a higher level of academics, and we need to inform this discussion that's going on around the Common Core standards and new ESCA reauthorization. Simply having academic standards and assuming that are career ready because they completed some academic standards, to inform that discussion that that's not a correct assumption. We actually need, I think this vision kind of puts us in a place where we realize that all students need to be ready and that to be competitive in this world. I feel really good about that piece.
Yes. Anybody want to add to that one, Jan?
Well, I agree with, obviously with what Pat said. I think that in career ready, that it takes more to be career ready than college ready, actually. Being college ready does not mean you're career ready. And we need to make sure that students do have the option to decide for themselves based on their career choice, and it dovetails so well with the career cluster framework as they begin to start broadly and focus down as they go through the pathways to determine where they want to go and what kind of education and training is required. And I think what we forget in this conversation when we talk about college and career ready is college is not just a 4-year degree. College is a 1-year apprenticeship program, certificate program, a 2-year associate's degree, and when we know that 90% of the jobs are going to require some type of post-secondary, yes, every student needs to be prepared to move on to some kind of post-secondary. And today's dialogue, it's called college, but it's not just a 4-year degree.
We have a number of questions in about tier certification. One of the recommendations is that that all teachers should be both academically and technically certified, with the intent of trying to kind of, again, break down those silos. But there is a concern that this may limit teachers and to those teachers who only have technical skill areas, how might we see this working? Maybe the state directors, if you were to implement this policy in your state where all teachers would need to be duly certified, what would implement that, and is it feasible? Phil, you want to start?
What we're seeing with our ag teachers in their ag ed programs is they're going back and they're getting certified in biology by taking the test, and develop programs that under our curriculum and other curriculums where they're teaching the past skills that we've established in Oklahoma in curriculum to make it relevant not only to the animal science area, also to the academic area. And now it's not easy. I'm not going to tell anybody that it's easy. But by working with our higher ed partners at Oklahoma State University and Northwestern State University, they just create a link with the Department of Education, who's our certifying body for teachers, that helped us get those teachers certified. And now schools are starting to look at not only those programs, but our business programs that count for computer science and count for math, and they're saying, this is a great way for our students to be not only get credits, but also to reinforce the math, the science skills that they're going to need throughout life. And it's a benefit to the teacher, it's a benefit to the student, it's a benefit to the school, and it's a benefit to the industry. And it makes a student better prepared. It doesn't close a door like we have in the past when they graduated from a program and they had just the technical skills, now providing them for the skills to be lifelong learners and go on and whatever they would like to do, whether that's in agriculture or in another area, the skill sets to be successful.
I'll take a stab at this too, Kim, Pat Ainsworth. We're struggling with this in California also. Made some real progress, I think. And I think the first thing that we did in state plan was define what a career technical education course is. And so that is that over half the content must be CTE standards based. So it's CTE standards and skilled based courses. And that the other requirement is they must be taught by a credentialed career technical ed teacher. That said, we know that we need to inject applied learning into every single high school. That's really a fundamental thing to changing our high school system. So looking at ways, we as Phil do have people that are certified both ways, but working at ways to take some of the academic teachers and through a process of both additional coursework and some kinds of internships, externships, gain a knowledge to bring to a level where they can inject that career technical ed content into their course, applied learning into their course, and in some cases get enough to become certified to teach a CTE course. So, but it is a tough area.
So there are creative solutions out there, and one of the things we will be doing in our rollout of this vision is trying to collect those best practices by both principle and action steps among the states that are working toward implementing this vision. June, did you want to answer?
Well, I was just going to add, we haven't moved in that direction yet, but it begs the question. We have so many individuals today, professionals that are out in the business world, that are not employed at this time. I have a feeling that we're going to see more and more of them coming into teaching, and that might change things a bit because they'll enter the teaching field with many courses, coursework behind them in the professional world, and it might enable that to happen, that they'll be able to be very easily endorsed, at least in our state, carrying all of those credits and credentials to be endorsed in both fields, both academically and with an ATE program area. I mean, I can see it that way. I don't know if that'll happen, but who knows?
Gotten a lot of questions in about legislation and the administration and their some of their perspectives on some of the things that we've recommended. And while we certainly can't speak on behalf of the administration or tell you when Secretary Duncan will give some height to CTE, perhaps we can talk about a little bit about kind of the mood in the federal policy environment for perhaps put some of these bold progressive statements into federal statute.
As Kim says, we have not been told specifically what they plan to put into legislation other than the ESCA. We've seen the broad outline of it. We do that, first of all, that OVE is working on a new vision for career and technical education, which they plan to launch sometime the end of summer, beginning of fall. And they do say at some point they will reach out to us. That the programs of study is Kim's is very big on their horizon. They believe all of career and technical education should go through the programs of study aligned with the career cluster framework. I mean, it details exactly with what your vision statement says. They believe very strongly that there has to be about the data, the accountability has to be with the data, and that it does have to align with the performance indicators under ESCA. But the administration and Secretary Duncan, and he even stated it in Ed Daily today, is wants to change the focus of the Department of Education from being about compliance to being about incentivizing innovation. You're going to see a lot of change. You already saw what they came out with their budget about eliminating the tech prep line, folding it into the basic state grant. They are a lot about let's foster innovation. It's not an entitlement. Let's go do competitive grants, but show us what you're doing new to make sure that students are graduating and going on to post-secondary. And again, that's not necessarily a 4-year. So I think, but for the first time in 8 years, we do have an administration that's supportive of career and technical education, sees the value of career and technical education, but that it needs to change. As Duncan has said, he believes that CTE requires transformation. Yes, he told us what he means by transformation. They're working on that. So that's why I said at the beginning of my comments, change is happening. We need to be a leader on it, and this vision can certainly help move that leadership role much faster down the road.
Great. Thank you, Ann. We're going to take one final question. And as you know, we've all seen many white papers, vision papers come out of Washington, kind of espousing big thinking, big things. So what are we going to do as an organization to our officers and as a community to Jan to make sure that this is another one of those documents that gets put out there with old ideas and then goes on a shelf? What do we do to really make this happen? You want to start?
Am I on? Okay.
You're on.
Yes, I'm on. Well, I think we've already made inroads towards that. I think that the partners that we have working with us right now can help us with that. I think their understanding, say, for instance, the National Governors Association or state supervisors. I think organizations that we're working with, the business and industry, can help us with that. And I think we just have to try to, if we can, in our own states, if legislation can help us get this done, that would be a very positive thing. And I think some states have already accomplished that in some ways, for instance, in establishing such as individual student learning plans and those types of things. I think that can help us greatly.
Great. Bill?
Well, I think, it's like yesterday. We were invited to participate with 59 different partners in business and industry and higher ed, developing a plan of how we could present to them and help them move not only to the next level in acquiring a workforce, but a trained workforce that's going to be just for today, but lifelong learners. And when we sat down at the table, they said, career is one of the most valued parts of this because of what you do and how fast that you can turn it around. So I think it's about the individual states taking the plan and put into action and not letting it sit on the shelf. And I've got 2 or 3 plans behind me from different groups, and it's because they fix the plan, they talk about the plan, and then they never bring it back up. They highlight the pockets of excellence that are around the state. They don't talk about the best practices, don't promote the best practices, and don't reward the people that are out there already doing some of the things that we're talking about. I think we've got to do that. We've got to put them out in front of our legislators. We've got to put them out in front of our business and industry people, our economic developers. And this is what we can do for our states to move them further along, not only in education, but economic development.
The last we had a paper, it helped to guide our association's work and this guide efforts across the country. That's because the board actually paid attention to it. And so as we move forward, I believe that this vision will have a direct effect on the work plan of our association developed for this next year. I think that we need to be accountable to our membership. To what degree have we accomplished this vision and moved it forward? What are the specific strategies we can accomplish every year? What priorities are going to be within this vision? And so, as a board member, this will be an agenda item for both our board meetings as well as our meetings when we come together as an association. It will help to guide the structure of those things. So it also help to guide staff in their daily work. And so I think it's going to make a big difference for our association.
Jan, anything to add?
No, I think that, certainly for all organizations, a vision isn't accomplished in 1 year or 2 years. It's something to strive for. And so I would imagine, as Pat just said, that state directors' leadership will be using this to guide their activities. And we'll certainly at ACTE, as it aligns with our strategic priorities, which it does, are using it to drive what we do. And so I think annually you're going to be coming up with new strategies that will move you closer to that vision. So I think it's imperative that it move forward. And I know that the State Directors Association feels that sense of urgency. So I can't imagine it sitting on a shelf anywhere.
Great. Thanks, everybody. And I can certainly tell you from a staff perspective, we are kind of seeing this as our guide for all of our work. And I want to honor the effort that everyone has put in to get to this point, so we will make it a living document. So we have received many more questions than we can answer. We're just about finished. So we will be looking and compiling the questions that we received that we weren't able to answer, and we'll post them on the website where the archive of this webinar and the PowerPoint will be. So June, I'm going to hand it back over to you to finish things up.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I think it's almost time to celebrate. Thanks for joining us and being our partner in implementing this bold new vision for CTE. Our vision is dedicated to the success of our students, our country. All.
And thank you, June. I will close out our webinar. Just be sure that you enter the survey before you leave the webinar for the day. And we also want to extend our appreciation to the officer team and staff as well. If you have questions after the webinar, send them to our Communications and Marketing Manager, Erin Uwe, at the email shown on your screen. And thanks to Cisco for great support in the use of this WebEx technology. I will post the recording of the webinar within the next 48 hours. I want to wish everyone a great afternoon.